Okay, let's have a look at Knee Deep by Zach Brown and this tricky little intro that we have. Um, let's break it down. All right. In the first measure, you can set your left hand fingers like this: string 2 fret 1, string 1 fret 3. Now what I like to do is that's a whole lot of music, so you can split it in half. You play the first 8 notes, set up like this. And my right hand, right, I'm just using my thumb on string 3, index on string 1, middle on string 2. Now, on that 8th note, in the recording it sounds like he's going like this, just sliding up to 5 real quick. And then so you're not playing open string 3 and 5 simultaneously. You're doing the slide and then playing open string 3 on the 9th note. So here's the whole first measure again. When you're doing that slide, keep this first finger on string 2, so when you go back, it's in place. Watch. See, it's in place, and then I go back. Okay, so there's your first measure. In the second measure, it says we have to bar the whole first fret. If that's too hard, just leave out string 6 fret 1 and just go. Okay, let's break that in half too. Now here's the first 8 notes. Without string 6, it sounds about the same. Sounds about the same. So, and then the last 8 notes of the second measure, I like to do a pull off from the 3 to the 1. Oops. You don't have to do that, but I think that sounds nice, and that might be what he's doing there. So after those 2 zeros, I play a pull off from 3 to 1. All right, so here's what we have so far. Oops. Sorry for the little mistake there in the first measure. So there's nothing yet that feels like a chord, right? This is kind of like an F chord when he goes. It's an F chord. Kind of C in the first measure, kind of F in the second measure, then back to C at the third measure. Oh, that is a C. All right, so in the third measure, you can just set up as a C chord and go. That's just the first 8 notes. Now, the second 8 notes in measure 3 is kind of like a G chord. Well, it's just that finger, but. Oops. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Now that parenthesis 0 might mean that he doesn't actually pluck that note. It might mean, oh no, you do have to pluck that note. I don't know why that's in parentheses. Anyways, here's the third measure. Oops. Now, the fourth measure looks like a train wreck. Let's see what's going on here. Slow way down, right? Oops. A lot going on there. Let's break it down. here's the first half of that fourth measure. Notice down below the notes, there's these beams, the stems, and they're beamed together. And there's one where there's 3 beams. That means those 2 notes are fast. At 0, 1, those are fast. So it goes da 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 da. All right, tricky stuff. And then the second half of the measure. Keep on doing the X's first. All right. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I have a C chord down at first, second half of the fourth measure. But then you need string 6 fret 3. But I keep my first finger ready because there's a 0, 1 there in parentheses again for some reason. So dun, dun, boom, open string 5. Then I just touch all the strings, and with my right hand I just flick with my index finger. So I go that's what I'm doing on the last half of that measure. So all together, here's measure 4. That's a really tricky measure. Now, if you get that far though, you're going to get to repeat some of the material, like measure 5 and measure 1 are identical. So you get to do this again. Every note exactly the same. Measure 6 is a little bit different than measure 2, but it's very, very similar. So very, very similar. Just be careful, there's no string 3 fret 2, it's just string 2 fret 1 in the beginning. Now again, if it's too hard to do the full bar, take out string 6 fret 1 and just do measure 6. Very, very similar to measure 2. Then measure 7. That might be the easiest measure in the whole song so far. All right, so here's the first 8 notes of measure 7. A lot of open strings, right? And then the last half of measure 7. Yeah, that's probably the easiest measure we've had so far. Thank goodness, right? Measure 3 isn't so bad either. But then we have measure 8. What's going on here? Well, that's cool. This is measure 8 now. And careful, you have some faster notes here. If you look down below the numbers, you see double beams with a 3. That means a triplet. You're going. I use a hammer on to make that faster from open string 4 to string 4 fret 1. That's the first 3 measures, the first 3 notes of measure 8. Da, 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 da. And then you have those fast notes again, where with the C chord, dum, da, da, dum, da. Maybe the hardest measure now, followed by the easiest, after the easiest measure. So here's what I'm doing. That's the first half of measure 8, and here's the second half of measure 8. Well, that's similar to the end of measure 4, right? Where you had the, but there's different notes there, 0, 2, 0. Okay, here's the second half of measure 8 again. Well, and here's all of measure 8. All right, remember when you do the X's, you just touch all the strings. So now, I don't, move all my fingers so they're like that. I try to keep them around where I'm going to be playing next. So when you go, see how this finger's near string 5 fret 2, so after the X's, I'm not shuffling around trying to figure out where my hands are supposed to be. Watch what I do. So it's not just completely like that. So these two fingers are doing most of the muting of the strings, and these two fingers are trying to figure out where they're going to be next. Okay, this is really challenging, this intro, but have fun with it, and hit me with any questions anytime, and I can bail you out if you run into any trouble. Thank you so much for watching this video.